Hey, it's Jonathan from Odyssey. We're going to go over switching the boiler thermocouple, this one down here. You need to swap this if you've had issues in the app or it just stopped reading, stuff like that. But we only need two tools for this. You need this specific tool, which you probably have to buy. This is a 12mm slotted hex nut socket. And then you need a little Molex crimp removal tool. You should have gotten one of these from us. This is just to pull the wires out of that 18-pin connector. And your replacement thermocouple should already come crimped, nothing to worry about there. And you want to use lock seal. This is the food grade lock seal. It's 5503. This is what we use. You want to make sure not to use Loctite. This is not food safe. You don't want this anywhere near stuff that's touching water. So yeah, we can get going. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is remove this wire from the 18-pin connector. If you look at the 18-pin, there should be a little tab on the top there. And press that down with your thumb, and then you kind of just want to rock this back and forth till it loosens up. And if you trace this wire down, it should be this very last one with the tab on the top to the right. At this point, you grab your Molex crimp remover, and when you're looking at these little squares, there's going to be a tiny notch on the top right of each of them. So you just want to slip your little Molex crimp remover into that tiny notch, and kind of, when you're looking around, you just want to find a spot to kind of push up in it, but not with too much force, just slightly. So just finding, pushing up, and really just with like the smallest amount of force. Sometimes you feel a little click when you do it. You just really don't want to break this 18-pin connector. There we go, and that comes out. And same with the one right below it. Cool, and that's come off. Sometimes it takes time, you just really want to be gentle with that. Cool. At this point, you want to take your 12mm socket, and I like to lay the machine on the side with the hole for the steam wand, just to kind of keep it flat. You don't want to lay it on the side with the potentiometer, just so you don't cause any damage to that. But this helps you get a bit of leverage so you can loosen this. You might need to kind of stand up, just kind of slowly put some force into it. On some of them it's easy, on some not so much. But yeah, once you get that going, it's not too much work. You might feel a little bit of resistance just because the P-stat is right beside it, and sometimes your tool might brush up on it. Don't worry about that too much, just because this is just a big little slab of metal kind of encasing some things. But if it feels like a lot of resistance, you just want to keep it so the socket side is the side that's closest to this, so that you're not scraping it so much. But once it's pretty loose, you can just kind of give it some turns right here. Okay, and that comes right off. Now you want to grab your new thermocouple, and you want to put a pretty generous bit of lock seal on it, but you don't want to put it near the top here. This is tapered, so you kind of want to put it just above this little halfway mark, and you want to cover probably 3 or 4 threads. And just go all the way around. It should look something like that. And at this point, you can also clean up these threads if they look pretty gunky. Some of them look gunky because of the lock seal. This one doesn't look too bad, so I'm just gonna pop this right in. And you can hand tighten to begin with, and then you'll come in with that 12mm socket later. just a thing to note, when you finish tightening this, you're gonna see it does not go flush all the way down there. That's just because it's tapered. You're also gonna see kind of still a bunch of liquid lock seal there. That's okay. It's just the lock seal in the threads is what matters, and you're gonna get some of that kind of spilling over the top. You can wipe that down with a rag, but once the machine kind of heats up, once you're using it, it just kind of evaporates. So you got the thermocouple on now, and it's time to wire it back in. And what you wanna do is you kind of wanna slightly bend this, and you wanna be really gentle with this wire, and just run it below all of these wires that come out of this P-stat. You just pull it through, and you just wanna be gentle, just because these parts at the end can fray really bad, and that's usually what causes people to need a new thermocouple. So once you're here, I think it's better to kind of wiggle this around to the angle you need it instead of really trying to mess with these ends here. So you kind of want to push these both in at the same time, just so you don't bend any one of these really crazy. And the red one goes on the top where the tab is, the white one goes on the other one. And you want both of those little pieces of metal that stick up to go in on the top. And once they're both in, you just kind of want to do a little back and forth rocking up and down without giving too much resistance. You should hear little clicks once they go in. Good thing to do is just look from the bottom. If one isn't pretty far in, give it a little shove. But you really want to kind of grab this whole thing so that when you shove it in, you don't get any hard bends there. If you look over on the top here, everything is pretty good, nice and in. And at this point, you can reconnect that 18-pin connector. Again, just being really gentle. If you need a little bit more wire, you can just tug it from up there. And then just lining up these squares, holding the wires, and just a little rocking motion, push it in, and everything is back in. And then you can just kind of push these thermocouples so they hug the walls a bit closer, so when you put those side panels and front and back panels, you don't risk kind of slamming into them. And yeah, at this point you kind of want to give the lock seal here about a day to cure. At the very least, give it 4 hours before you give it a test, but this should be good now.